In 1990, psychic Scott Rogo had a horrifying premonition. He saw a man being murdered. The terrifying vision of death haunted his dreams, and most frightening of all was that the murder victim Scott saw was himself. Tragically, it was a premonition that came true. Scott Rogo was internationally recognized as an expert in the paranormal. He was the author of 30 parapsychology books that ranged in subjects from ghosts to premonitions. Ironically, Scott's fatal premonition about his own life would come true. On August 16, 1990, as a peaceful San Fernando Valley, California sleeps, a grisly murder is taking place. World-renowned parapsychologist Scott Rogo is stabbed to death, his throat slashed.
Somebody had come to his house, possibly in the evening, and stabbed Mr. Rogo.
Tragically, Scott's accurate premonition was to be his last.
When they discovered the body, there were no clues. There was the actual murder weapon found with blood, and right by the wall closest to the body, there was some fingerprints and blood.
But that initial evidence did not lead to the killer's identity. Psychics felt the police needed an expert witness, testimony from the dead man himself.
I conducted 2 separate investigations. One was akin to a private investigation. The other was a psychic investigation.
Psychic researcher Betty Bandy asked some of the world's top psychics to try to contact Scott. And what they found would send the investigation in an important new direction. Psychic Armand Marcotte believes the murder victim told him to check the fingerprints on a glass left at the murder scene.
They both had a drink to calm their nerves after the crime was committed. The darker the man, he went to the bathroom and he forgot to wipe his glass and it was left there.
I wrote a detailed report of the information given to me by the psychics because a very clear picture did emerge from the psychic report.
They went back to the house and did a thorough search of the bathroom. And that's where they found the glass that tied in the present killer that's been convicted and put away since then.
That's how they finally came on the path of Mr. Batista. He was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced, I believe it was 15 years to life.
My private belief is that Scott has assisted me in collecting information.
Is it possible that Scott Rogo is trying to conduct his own murder investigation from the grave? How else could you explain the psychic's insistence that police re-examine the fingerprints on the glass? And many believe Rogo is still trying to reach out to them because there are still many unanswered questions about the case. The most troubling, that a second murderer is still at large. Psychics won't give up until that killer is found.
There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that there was a second suspect.
However, at this time, we don't have any idea of who it may be. We don't know race, age. We have no other information of this person.
The fingerprint and blood did not match Mr. Batista, the defendant, nor Mr. Rogo.
With police at a virtual standstill, we ask psychic detective Nick Nocerino to examine the murder of Scott Rogo.
You seem to be interested in Scott Rogo, and he is the person we want to tune into, and we want to find out what happened, and if possible, give you as much information as we can.
Nick Nocerino has been a respected psychic investigator for 47 years. He begins a typical murder investigation by visiting the last place the victim was seen alive.
Every time I mention his name, I get lots of pain, sharp pain. I don't know whether he's having a heart attack or what's going on.
Nick's investigation also takes him to several locations frequented by Scott in the days just before his murder. Nick believes this method of investigation will stir up the tremendous psychic energy necessary to make contact with Scott Rogo. He then brings in a team of psychics to investigate the single most important location in the case, the very house in which Scott Rogo was found stabbed to death.
We hope to find out how the man died, if possible, who killed him or how many people killed him, and then connected with the killing. There's been a killing here.
Each psychic surveys the house, attempting to gather psychic energy.
Right around my throat is tightening up immediately, and then it's moving down into my chest area.
Besides the stabbing, there was an attempt to choke him. I heard gagging.
There were 3 individuals besides the man who was hurt, and blood all around.
This is definitely a house that has had a lot of energy and it still is filled with different energies. There's a lot of anger associated with that too, and it's a frenetic kind of energy.
The psychics then agree to break off into 2 separate groups, in 2 separate rooms, to form seance-like triads.
And I call upon the energy of Scott Rogo to assist us in any way he can.
There's 3 people involved. 2 came in one car, 1 came in another car. They got in the house.
There were 2 people performing the majority of the violence.
In 2 separate rooms, at almost the same time, the psychics believe they have made contact with Scott Rogo, who is now conducting his own murder investigation from beyond the grave.
Their intent when they entered this home was not to kill him.
He's screaming. I can't hear what he's screaming, but I can hear him screaming.
Things just got out of hand.
One of them short.
5'6", 5'7", overweight.
Kind of long, wavy, black hair, maybe a little balding on the top.
He may be the one who has the tattoo on his arm.
Scar. It's a mark on his face.
Right below his eye.
Tiny little mustache.
See a car parked.
Bandana on the head, not a hairnet.
VWY.
Bushy eyebrows.
436.
Romano. Romano's the last name.
Jesus.
Jason, James, Alexander, all those names fit the big one.
They're within 100 miles of here.
Oh, these are the names of the other guys.
According to the psychic team, this is the killer of Scott Rogo. Both triads, independent of each other, provided the same description.
The man was about 5'6", 5'7", round of face, Hispanic, tiny little mustache, black oily wavy hair with a bandana, long police record. He was the one perpetrating most of the violence.
This is the man the psychics believe killed Scott Rogo. He is Hispanic, about 5'7" tall, 160 pounds in weight, and still living, they believe, in the Southern California area. The sketch and description have been handed over to police for further investigation. The product, psychics believe, of Scott Rogo's ghostly communication about the face behind the bloody handprint.
His presence to me was still very strong in that house, and hoping that somebody will uncover some aspect of the crime.
Police policy prohibits comment on this unsolved case, but we will follow their developments and hope to bring you an update of the Scott Rogo case in the near future.